I'm with Carl Palinkas
Very
from
good.
Zachariah's Hope, and today we're talking about the Olive Tree Project. Now, Carl, what is Zachariah's Hope and the Olive Tree Project?
Well, Zachariah's Hope is a ministry based out of Florence, Oregon, that exists to demonstrate love and support to the nation of Israel, especially the security teams and the displaced people of the northern area of Israel, Galilee and above, really. But the Olive Tree Project is something that has grown out of all of these relationships that God has given us over the years in the north. And local farmers outside of the community, well, from the community of Livnim and Hukok, that area there, which is right next to Novkin Asar and about 15 or 20 minutes north of Tiberias, they requested that we would work together with them to market or to make these olive trees available to Christians around the world, to people, to anyone around the world, and connect them and use these olive trees to connect people with the land of Israel and to kind of create a support, financial support for Israeli farmers.
Is this a beautiful area of Israel?
It's amazing. It's you overlook the Sea of Galilee. Our volunteers just came back and they just did an amazing job. Chris and Amber Combs, they're wonderful believers. They really demonstrate what it means to know the Lord. And they just trimmed over 200 olive trees owned by these local farmers. And it overlooks the Sea of Galilee. And you could see the mountains rising up to the Golan Heights on the eastern shore, on the eastern side. And of course, the north, you could see all the way up to the border where there's a lot of action right now. And but the view is spectacular because it's an amazing privilege to serve the Lord in the area where Jesus did so much of his ministry.
I imagine it is a very dangerous time at the moment with rockets coming in from Hezbollah in Lebanon in that area, isn't it?
Well, our perspective on what constitutes danger has changed because the Israelis, they live, they've been evacuated off the northern border, as you know, but throughout the rest of the country, they live there all the time. So when volunteers go there, or myself, when we go there, we really touch their hearts because we demonstrate that we're willing to, live alongside them. And even though rockets come in from Lebanon and sirens go off, and we get to witness with our own eyes, the aerial interceptions, via Iron Dome and other, means that Israeli has, we don't really feel like we're in physical danger because we feel like the Lord really has us there for his purpose and that he's going to protect us. But in the very natural or in the very practical way, it would be labeled dangerous. Yeah.
Tell us a bit about the Olive Tree Project and the opportunity to buy an olive tree.
Okay, well, the Olive Tree Project, it was just birthed from Zachariah's Hope working with some local Israelis. And it was the idea of the local Israeli farmers. One in particular, his name is Svika. He's just the sweetest man. He's just a very accomplished man. He was an officer in the IDF. And even though he's retired, he still ferries ammo. He's a courier for ammo, like many retired officers are right now. But he owns olive groves or olive orchards, however you want to say it. And of course, he has a good reputation with other local olive grove owners. And what they wanted to do was they wanted to really connect believers with the land of Israel. And I tried to make it so that there would be more financial support rendered to these farmers who, the agriculture has definitely taken a huge hit in the north or all over the country. But when people make a donation, they become the literal owner of the olive tree. And then they receive delivered to them once a year at harvest time olives, a big batch of olives, and olive oil from their tree and the surrounding trees. And the plan is to place a video camera overlooking the olive orchards and the Sea of Galilee, and so that people can really feel connected because there's a lot of people that really love Israel and they wish they could practicalize their support or their connection to the land of Israel. And this gives them that chance to do that. But the tree, it actually becomes their tree. They own the tree. Of course, because it's the land of Israel, they can't own the land, but they do own the tree. So the project is to bless the Israeli farmers, and it provides a little bit of financial support for the ministry Zachariah's Hope and everything that we do and that we try to do in the North during this challenging time. But for Zachariah's Hope and for myself, anything, anytime that we could just show love and support for whether it be farmers or security teams or people that had to move out of their homes or people that have been living in hotels for the past year, anything that we could do to show them the love of the Lord and our own love, it's a privilege.
It's a very good environmentally friendly way of helping the planet, but also helping Israel and Israeli farmers as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it really is. And if anybody ever has an interest, there was this king Uzziah, I think it's Second Chronicles 26, but it says that he was a lover of the ground. He was really an agriculturalist. He was a great king. They said that there was nobody like him. He was really into fortifying and building up the nation in so many ways, but he really loved agriculture. And the term, I think in the Hebrew, it means he was a lover of the soil, a lover of the ground. And that's what these Israeli farmers are like. They really have a connection with the soil and with the land of Israel, Eretz Israel. And if there's anybody out there that not only do you love the soil, do you love growing things and working with soil and growing things and fruit and all that, but if you love Israel, this place, it's like heaven. The volunteers came back and they developed such a love connection with the land, with the trees, and they feel like they miss being among the olive branches, the scent and the beauty and the blue sky and overlooking the Sea of Galilee every day, of course. But it's just an amazing privilege that the Lord has given us. But yeah, but if you love agriculture, if you love working with plants or trees or the earth, then this is a beautiful privilege.
This helped to bring connection to the land of Israel.
Well, yeah, because, whenever we go over there, local Israelis, we've developed a lot of friendships. We have, dozens or hundreds of people that we know personally. What we demonstrate by just our presence is that we really stand with them and that we're willing to submit ourselves to a little bit of danger, rockets and sirens and all that kind of stuff, but because we love them. It's not a glamorous humanitarian gesture. It's really just because of the influence of the Lord upon our own hearts. We count it a joy to eat with them, to see them every day, to get to know them, their husbands, their wives, who's serving in the military, who's serving on the security team, how their kids are doing with school. And by our presence, we know because they've told us. They've told us several times, it means so much. You don't have to be here, but you guys are here.
Can people buy a tree perhaps in remembrance of a loved one who's died?
That's a fantastic idea because, this opportunity was not here like this before in terms of owning a tree like this. There have been reforestation projects, there have been other very good ministries, where you could buy a sapling and you could reforest the Judean hillside or whatever. And that those reforestation projects are really good. But with this one, there's a larger price tag involved because we're giving and we're making an offering really like as unto the Lord, but to show love and support for the Israeli farmers, which are really fantastic people.
So is this many different groves, and how many trees do they have in the groves?
Well, our volunteers, they did slightly over 200 on their last, couple months that they were there. And they just came back the other day, and we're making plans to go back in for a different purpose, for cleaning up some of the damage that was done on the northern communities. We're going to go back in January and February. But the volunteers, they would go out into the olive yards and, we bought a bunch of clippers and we would meet with the farmers and they trained us how to prune the trees. And so they would go out there and they just would work with the Israeli farmers. And of course, these are really just beautiful people, good people, hard workers, fun to be around. If you've probably spent a lot of time around Israelis in general, and you know how sweet and fun and they can be. But the connection, you develop these friendships and it's an offering. It's an offering unto the Lord. Lord, please use us that we could edify these people and show them your love. So it's really worked out. It's been such a blessing.
Does it take a lot to look after an olive tree?
Well, let's see. There's the irrigation. There's a lot of portions of these olive yards, these olive groves. Like I said, we just did a batch of about 200, but then there's multiple other olive groves along these hillsides and along the highway, on the western side of the highway, on the western shore of the Sea of Galilee. But the olive trees that my friends just finished pruning were wildly overgrown. They showed me a before picture, and basically, some of these olive groves were just neglected and they became wildly overgrown. So they took a ton of pruning, a lot of effort. That was all piled up. The farmers had to deal with, taking away all those clippings, but then they also had to get the irrigation back online. So that can only be done in partnership with the local farmers and the authorities about water. Of course, Israel is the world's leader in irrigation and the best production and use of water. But those two things are a significant challenge. If you have an olive yard, say like a couple hundred trees that are wildly overgrown, that takes a lot of care and a lot of maintenance. And then you need the expertise of the farmers, the orchard owners, the grove owners, about how to take care of the soil. And then, of course, there needs to be a lot of coordination when it comes to harvest time. But fortunately, these guys have it all down to a science. They are, I would say, the world's experts at olive production and, growing olives. So it's like a master class in something in agriculture, but going back to biblical times. So there is a lot of care. There is a lot of care. It feels a little bit like a shepherd with sheep. It's not just this thing that you just kind of go out there and you think everything's easy and everything's, there are no challenges, but you develop a relationship where you become well versed in what it takes to demonstrate care and to grow something.
And of course, olive trees are such a blessing in Israel, aren't they? You've got the olive wood products, so people are making products out of the wood. You have the oil, and then you have the eating the olives as well. They're just multifunctional, aren't they?
Yeah, olives are just an amazing fruit. Besides, being good for you and olive oil being like one of the best things for you, it's really a staple in the daily diet of most Israelis.
Can people actually go and visit their own olive tree?
Yes, we could easily put together teams, and that's the plan in the future. Is we want to invite people that can get out there, can walk up the hillside and work a pruner, or that can come with that servant's heart and hands and arms ready to do a little bit of labor. The answer is yes, they can come. We can coordinate trips where we could take groups, and people could literally meet the olive tree that they have purchased or that they have made a donation for, and have their own relationship with the land, and not just see it over a webcam, which is really cool, but to meet the farmers and to feel connected. When you feel connected to the land of Israel, it just has a huge effect upon how we read our Bibles, and even like how we go to church, because the whole Bible comes alive.
You just had some volunteers there. What do these Israeli farmers think about Christians coming to work on the land?
Well, there's a key ingredient, and that is that we have these Christians that are very sweet. They love the Lord. They're very humble. And so in my situation, I have wonderful Christians demonstrating to local Israelis what it means to know and love Jesus. So the effect of that, or how that works out, is that Israelis, they're super sharp. They're very, they can be very cerebral, very observant, very keen. And because they're keen observers, they're always watching how the believers behave. They're watching, and the believers that I have brought on trips have always been these people that are joyful, loving, really good witnesses, if you would, by their actions. I can't remember who it was, and I can't remember which guy from the third century or whatever, but he said, we should be prepared, or we should preach Christ at all times, but if necessary, use words, right?
Mm.
And these believers, especially these volunteers that we have, Chris and Amber Combs, medical professionals from Oregon, they're both seasoned believers. They've been through life. They're people of depth. So they easily build these good relationships with the Israelis. But we have wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Israelis. All the friends from Mizgavam and a few other kibbutzim, and of course the farmers from Livnim. They're just wonderful people.
What is your prayer for the project?
Well, my prayer is that many people in North America, believers who know and love the Lord, who believe their Bibles, I pray that many churches and pastors that they would learn about this and they would see it as a way to support the people and the land of Israel in a very practical way, you know, and that they would get their trees and they would eventually, the following year receive their oil, receive their olives. And because of the Abrahamic blessing in Genesis chapter 12, that God says that he promises to bless those that bless Israel. And even though you're just buying a tree or you're making a donation to become an owner of a tree, you are blessing the Israeli farmers. And I really do believe with all my heart, because I've seen it over and over again, that God brings these blessings into your life. He brings these blessings into your walk. He brings these blessings into your understanding of the Lord or of his word or how to do life. And you just see these blessings come into your own home, your own family, your own church. And so that's my prayer. I want people to be blessed. And I really believe one of the wisest things and that we can do is to really show love and support for the nation, for the people of Israel in any way.
What's your website for people who'd like to know more about the work that you're doing?
Well, ZachariasHope.org. It's spelled Zech, ZachariasHope.org. And there's a lot of information there. There's a newsletter that you could subscribe to, and you can get updates occasionally. And we have a Telegram channel. Zacharias Hope has its own Telegram channel, and that's very good information, very up to the day information. Like I said, there's the newsletter that you could also sign up via the website. We have a YouTube channel for Zacharias Hope, and oftentimes those are teachings that are offered from me, the teaching pastor here, and other servants that step up to the pulpit while I'm gone, while I'm often in Israel. But really good information about the Olive Tree Project, how it came into being, about the volunteers, about current events in Israel. So you can start with ZachariasHope.org, but I also recommend the YouTube channel and the Telegram channel.
Carl, thank you very much for sharing today.
Well, thank you very much for interviewing me, and I pray that the Lord uses this for his glory, and I hope we get to meet.